All right, good afternoon, East Hampton Town ARB. We're live on 22. We're streaming on YouTube, and you are being recorded. You may begin.
Okay. Welcome to the meeting of the Town of East Hampton's Architectural Review Board. Today is June 27th, 2024. My name is Frank Attard, Vice Chair, filling in for Chip Ray, who is out this week, but will be back at the next meeting. I need to state for the record that as we have 4 board members present today, applicants do have the right to postpone their application being heard today if they choose until all 5 board members are present. I also need to state that an application requires 3 votes for approval, regardless of how many board members are present. As a matter of procedure for applicants here today, a board member will give a brief summary of the application, after which applicants are welcome to come to the podium to present their application and to respond to questions. Please state your name when you come to the podium and make sure you speak into the microphone for our records. Our first order of business is approving last minute's meetings. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 20th, 2024?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our first order of business today is business signs. This is Montauk Project, 240 Fort Pond Road, Montauk, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-16-2-38. Chris, this is you.
Okay, this is an application for a new business sign hung within an existing frame that you can see in the photo there for an existing restaurant property out on the Flamingo Avenue frontage, right out in front of the Montauk Railroad Station. The new restaurant name is Montauk Project, as depicted on the proposed sign. A letter from the applicant attorney that accompanies the application is pretty comprehensive and describes it as a 17.5 by 70 inch business sign for the new restaurant Montauk Project. The sign will be located between the existing 5'3" pilings fronting Flamingo Avenue. Please note the pilings were previously approved by the ARB in connection with an application made by a prior property owner. The sign will be constructed of natural wood board with black font. And we have a very small piece of what looks like a teak veneer as the natural wood, which would probably gray out pretty nicely on with black lettering on it. No mention is made, if you can go back to the photo, the street view photo, no mention is made of the sign is proposed as 2-sided. Right there, it looks like it's really backed into the landscaping, but on the other side, it's kind of partially obscured and probably could be cleared away a little bit. It'd be worth clarifying. And no lighting was really apparent there, and there's none noted in the application. So did that pretty well cover it?
Can anybody
Yes.
see that?
David McMaster, 176 North Sea Road, Southampton, New York, for the applicant. Good afternoon, members of the ARB. There will be no lighting. The application did not specify if it was double-sided. With the board's permission, I would like permission to have the sign be double-sided. I think it would still fit in with the amount of acceptable signage. And I will just point out that this has been a restaurant since going back at least a decade, and the approval in 2016 referred to the existing pilings for the business sign. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. I will note that on the survey, there was a little bit of confusion about the 2 signs that were on the other corner. Those are a stop sign and a do not enter sign.
Right.
That I don't know why they were on my client's survey, but
yeah, because they're signs and they were surveyed, I guess.
Sure, but they're outside of they're clearly not within the property, and they're.
So this is the only sign that you're proposing for the
Yes,
restaurant?
Sir.
So this will be affixed how? Again, this will be hung between the posts, or it will be affixed?
Between the posts, Mr. Guittard. If you look at the photo that I submitted, you can kind of see the slot that it would go into.
Okay.
In between.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very hard to
Okay.
read.
Yeah.
So let's say it's fat. Any comments? Diane or Kathy?
Well, it seems like it's going to be awfully hard to read, but I suppose that they want to be discreet.
I mean, in past iterations of this restaurant property, that it's, coming from the docks pretty often, I've always noticed coming down the hill the restaurant sign. I think it's just overgrown recently. So, it's.
I think the sign's discreet. I think it looks fine. And as long as the double-sided fits within the, code requirements, I think that's fine too.
Right. The materials look nice and appropriate for this type of setting.
Natural wood looks great.
Okay, you want to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion to approve the application for a two-sided sign within the existing previously approved pilings frame as submitted.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, next application, change to commercial. This is GSL Shop Edition, 137 and 139 Fireplace Road, East Hampton, New York. Suffolk County Tax Map Numbers 300-147-7-26.1 and 27.1. This is mine. This is an application to expand a commercial building on Springs Fireplace Road on the north side of Springs Fireplace Road in a very commercial district with many businesses along this street. This application has been reviewed by and approved by the Town of East Hampton Planning Board. The applicant is requesting approval to expand their one-story building by adding on at the southeast facade parallel to Springs Fireplace Road and expanding southwest into what is now a dirt parking area. The existing building is stucco with brown metal trim above an asphalt shingle roof. The proposed addition would be the same materials with a roof pitch of 6 and 12. By all looks of it, this addition would match well with the existing structure. It also represents an improvement on the lot, as the southeast lot is currently dirt parking, which will be improved. There's a curb cut on this side of the property right now at this right there, which per the site plan would be eliminated, and there would be only one curb cut at the main entry. I do recommend approving this application as presented. This business already is pretty well is well kept relative to the businesses on this street. So it's just improvement over what is a pretty well kept lot already. If the applicant is welcome to say something or not, if they choose.
Jean Galante, Land Planning. And I don't want to say anything else. If you're happy with it, we're happy.
Donald Solis is the owner of the business.
Right. Okay. Will, can we run through the drawings?
Yeah.
Maybe pull up the survey. I will stress that reiterate that this is two lots that will be merged, so we're not considering that, but this will become one lot. So let's zoom in here. So on the top of the screen is the existing, and at the bottom of the screen is really just like a dirt lot right now where they keep cars. So the addition will go there. As you can see, there will be parking filled out. It will be improved by better landscaping. Let's go through the architectural drawings. Okay, there's the landscaping plan. Be well screened from the property of this basement. Let's keep going. Addition is on the left. You'll see it's pretty straightforward. Keep going. I'd like to see the elevations primarily. That's existing. And then, so those are the large glass garage doors. Keep going, next page. All right, so that's existing, and then existing has been grayed out and proposed. is there. So it's gray stucco with this brown metal trim and an asphalt shingle roof.
Which matches the existing building, right?
Same
Yeah,
color
that
of
sounds-
stucco.
yeah, sounds-
Right. And I think there's some lighting here too. Is there? Do we have cut sheets? Just pull this out. There we go. Architectural wall sconces facing down, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so it's dark sky compliant.
And this has site plan approval? You've gotten approval from this planning board already?
Indeed. Yes, we have.
Planning, we got planning.
Yeah, planning board
Planning
approval,
has
site plan
approved this.
approval. Yeah, okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Yep,
And landscape.
great.
I do have one question, which is what is the square footage of the addition?
I did not.
I'm not sure to tell you off the top of my head.
Just want to confirm that.
Would be in the application. 1,200.
1,200 exactly, because that's going to be on the resolution.
That's what I have, 1,200, yeah.
Okay. I don't have any further comments. How about other board members?
No, it seems to match the existing, looks fine, it has site plan approval, so I have no problem with it. It's fine to me.
Seems like a very discreet and appropriate kind of addition to an existing building, keeping it in keeping with it.
To me. Yeah, it looks
Yeah.
fine to me.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the application as presented for an addition of 1,200 square foot addition and elevations and plans and survey as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next application, let me pull this up. Next application is for one application technically under two things of our purview. One is a roof height exception, and the other one is this is adjacent to an agricultural overlay. This is 74 Stony Hill Road in East Hampton, New York. Suffolk County tax map number 300-126-1-15-1. So this is an application to build a new residence on Stony Hill Road, a quiet road in Amagansett, north of Town Line Road. Now, I'm calling this Amagansett. I think this is Amagansett, but
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. For any of you who have been up this road, you will know that it is very quiet and eventually turns into a dirt road. The area is wooded and hilly. We are reviewing this, I've already said why we're reviewing this for two reasons. In terms of the roof height, normally the town of East Hampton permits heights of up to 32 feet on pitched roofs, but certain lots can go up to 35 feet provided they meet certain setback and pyramid conditions, among other things. This application appears to have met those conditions. Should also be noted that the property, the flag lot directly in back of this lot to the north is owned by the same applicant. As you'll see in the renderings and the drawings, this proposal is to build two sort of barn volumes with a connector piece. The southernmost volume facing the street and opposite the owner's adjacent lot is to be a restored barn with glazing, which I look forward to hearing more about from the applicant. I'll note that there's a fair amount of glazing on the south elevation that faces the street, though I want to reiterate this is a fairly wooded lot and a very quiet, sort of off the beaten path road. So the applicant is requesting approval for a 7,405 square foot residence on this. So let's just walking through the elevations here. That's the elevation facing the street. Okay, so the one on the taller volume on the right is my understanding when I spoke with the agent for the applicant is this is a company that takes reclaimed lumber for barns and then reconstructs them. And then so what you're seeing on the left, the smaller volume is essentially new construction. Let's keep going. Right, there's the south elevation, that's what's facing the street. Right, this would be the east elevation. And there is the west elevation. Anything more? I think that pretty much covers it. Will, if you could go back to the photographs, and then are you able to pull up those photographs that I sent earlier? Okay, so this is from within the property. Just go back. Okay, so that is the owner's, the applicant's property to the north. Let's go back. This is the area has already been cleared. That's on the survey. There is a tennis. There's a tennis court between the road and that's the flag lot road to the right. There's a tennis court sort of buffering the house from the street. And I do want to go back to, these photographs just to give you an idea of, so the agricultural overlay is across the street, and this is set back from the street. This lot that we're considering is on the street. And as you can see, I also want to point out, so when you're driving on this road, go back to that previous photograph. There's one spot where you can kind of see directly into the lot, but there is, from a car, a fairly large natural berm that kind of blocks the view of this property. So unless you're like right at the driveway with about 30 feet of that stretch, it's not easy to see into this wooded lot anyway. So I'm just giving you all the context of that. And then maybe, Will, if you can pull up that GIS image showing this lot relative to the surrounding properties. Okay, that's good. So above that is the property owned by the applicant. You'll see the road cutting through at the bottom and then the ag overlay. It's wooded on all sides. It's not like there's an open field across it. So that's my introduction to it. I welcome someone from the applicant to explain further and come up for questions.
How big is the property?
Just under 2 acres, right? Isn't it?
Let me pull up the survey. Feel free to, while I do that.
I just want to give a kind of a brief introduction to the project that we have going over here.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Larry Kane,
Thank you.
and I would be the builder for the project. I want to begin by giving a brief history of this project. In 2009, my client purchased the adjacent property at 78 Stony Hill Road. We then worked together to design and build the house, which he still owns. In 2020, the client purchased the property that we are discussing today. It abuts his existing house to the south. At that time, a contemporary house was built on the property and was in terrible condition. The house was removed, several years passed, and we discussed rebuilding. After about 2 years, my client determined that he wanted to build a barn. After much discussion, we determined that instead of building a new barn, we would refurbish an historic barn and bring it back to life. Our search for a barn ultimately led us to the Dutch barn that was built in 1790 that was salvaged from Palatine Bridge, New York. The barn had been dismantled and moved to Montana for restoration. The restoration included extensive repairs to the barn. It's not just a refurbished barn, it's the complete structure of the barn. So that is been brought to Montana, kind of fixed up, fumigated, and will be rebuilt on the property. As you said, even though it's going to 35 feet, because the lot's 125,000 square feet, more than double the 60,000 square foot requirement. It easily meets the requirements for the height. And also, even though it's adjacent to an ag overlay, unlike most ag overlays in the town, which are farmland, Stony Hill Road is one of the heaviest wooded properties, as we know, in the town. And as you stated, well, there is a big natural berm in front of the property, which will be, as our site plan, as our landscaping plan showed, will be supplemented with lots of indigenous layered landscaping. So that's really, the project will be clad in 1x9 rough sawn cypress. The cypress was chosen because it will turn a patina to a beautiful gray over time. It grays even faster than a cedar. All of the fascias, soffits, underside of the porch, everything will be milled, so you'll have one beautiful continuous material. The roof will be a red cedar taper sawn shingle, and the chimneys and the stonework around the benches and the planters will all be done in a Pennsylvania wall stone and will be appeared to be dry stacked. And most importantly, the house itself, even at the southernmost portion of the house where the glass is 300 feet off of Stony Hill Road. We have a 102-foot scenic easement that will not be touched along the road. Then I believe there's about 40 or 50 feet more of natural woods that will not be disturbed. And the whole project fits within the existing clearing, and we don't have to cut down one tree.
Oh, that's so great. That's really great.
So there will be no stain on the house, or were you planning on staining?
No, we were going to leave the cypress natural. The guy who mills the cypress for me showed me projects that he's done just about a year ago, and the cypress turns to a beautiful silvery gray.
Right. Okay.
And this is before us because of its adjacency to an ag overlay zone.
Right.
But
Yeah, the height-
the height does meet the
It's an
exceptions that are
it's an
allowed.
exception. It's like,
Does it
it's
meet,
a,
has they, isn't that subdivision? I thought they hadn't met that. It was unclear whether the applicant would, decline to subdivide the property going forward. That was one of the 4 criteria for the 35-foot height. Right? It can't be subdivided any further. And they had, because that was unclear in the beginning. So that's been clarified.
What there is there's an exception to the East Hampton Building Code that if a lot is over 60,000 square feet, this one's 125,000. And if you're able to meet double side yard setbacks and double rear yard setbacks, which are 40 feet on this property, we were able to achieve 85 feet at the closest direction. Then what the code states is that going from 32 to 35 feet is allowed with the approval of you guys.
Without those 4 criteria? I thought that we did this one other time with, remember that house up in? Sorry, we had another application like that was asking for the height exemption also, but there were 4 criteria that we had to meet. And I guess the one I'm inquiring about, because when I read the memo, maybe that's been revised since I read it earlier, but that the applicant would have to guarantee that they weren't going to subdivide the property going forward.
Correct.
So
And
has that guarantee been made?
that guarantee will be made by the owner.
Okay.
Absolutely. I believe it's.
Yeah, that's the only thing that was outstanding in my mind was that particular piece, because those 4 criteria, I know you met 3 of them, but the 4th was still unclear to me. And if that's good, then it seems like you meet it.
Right.
right.
Nope.
So Chris, it's like you sort of have as a right to build it, but you still have to go through ARB to get the blessing.
And doubly so because it's opposite an ag overlay property.
Yeah, there's
abutting.
2 things that falls under here.
Right.
Right.
I don't
The roof
really
height
have a
is-
problem with either in this
Roof height
case.
is a separate issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, really what it sounds like we don't have an issue with does anyone have an issue with the height exception here?
No.
I don't, because it meets the criteria.
Yeah.
And I think the barn is a nice addition. I think it enhances the ag overlay. I think if we're going to make an exception for 35 feet, it would be for building of this sort. So,
Right.
I applaud that effort and time and resources you're putting into restoring something, even though it's from upstate or someplace else, it fits in. And that's what our job is, make sure we're maintaining the character.
Yeah.
So I applaud that. I think that's a great idea.
And I will say, I mean, as I sort of alluded to in my introduction, that because there's a lot of glazing facing the street, but if this were in a different location, perhaps like facing an agricultural field, we may be having a different discussion, but I think this is a very wooded private lot it's still a public road, but it's not like a well-traveled thoroughfare.
I guess it's technically facing the street, but it's so far and so buffered, it's not really a street front.
Right.
In that sense, I wouldn't think of it that way on a site developed this way with a site plan the way it is.
So are we doing both things? We're doing roof height and we're evaluating the ag overlay?
I think we would be just approving the application as presented.
Didn't know so we're doing comments on the design also, not just the roof height.
We would be approving this.
Whole thing.
We would be approving it all.
Okay. I wasn't clear on that.
There's one sort of just minor technical thing. In terms of the drawings, the roof heights are not indicated on the drawings. I apologize that I didn't notice this earlier, but it would just something we would need at least for record for the roof heights and the building architectural drawings.
I think there was a later submission with some elevations looking from the south, which I worked with the surveyor on, which showed the quote worst point on the southwest corner, which shows that. If you guys don't have that, I'll make sure you have that. So.
Right, it's on the roof height. If I can go back and look, I think is on the survey, but it was typically we have them on the building elevations, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you don't have it, I'll get it
an
to you.
updated one, but if there is one, we would just need it. What about architectural lighting? So that's just part of our purview, is reviewing any lighting cut sheets. So code requires any exterior doors to have that interior lighting can't suffice for illumination to meet code. So you would either need some sort of sconce or some sort of means to light the pavement in front of any door. So have those been submitted?
Yes, I believe, also have a lighting plan.
Okay.
And I got feedback on that, and they didn't like two of the sconces, so I had the lighting designer update that. Two of the sconces that were near the doors were originally not shielded. The thought was that within 5 feet of a door, they didn't need to be shielded, but the lighting designer was okay with changing all of the sconces to shielded dark sky compliant lighting. So I do have 5 new lighting plans for you if you would like those.
Okay. Well,
Will, do we have anything in our record? I don't have anything in my physical card copy about lighting cut sheets or a lighting plan.
so then we didn't review it.
Yeah, because in the report I got back from...
If we can, oh, here we go. Okay, well, let's review it this way then.
Is that the updated one?
That's the old one, because I was just told that one wasn't... Oh, that is updated?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my... These are 5 copies of the newer...
I mean, I'm fine reviewing this. Okay, great.
See if they're over there.
Yeah.
It's the only question. I mean, architecturally, I have no issue with it. I don't know about anybody else. The second one from right, it does appear to be dark sky compliant, from what I can see. And I just want to make sure the building elevations, that's another thing on the elevations that just needs to be, it is. So one part of this just approval is we're going to need a resubmission of the elevations, which is calling out the roof heights, and the lighting needs to be depicted on the elevations.
Right.
Just
Okay.
for record. Any other comments from, oh, and there's brake metal, right, between the floors, like on drawing 300. I just want to make sure that's called out as a material, right? So this band hiding the floor between this, we just call that
Yeah, no, I do not believe that. That will not be metal. That will be covered in the same cypress as the, because that looks like it's what, about 18 inches wide there?
Yep.
And we would not have a metal band that wide. So I will also make sure that that's noted as covered in the cypress.
Okay. Okay, so are there any other changes to the elevations we should be aware of?
No, everything else is as per the elevation. The windows, we've gone through this very carefully, the chimneys, and again, the idea is all of the exterior will be either the cedar shingles, the cypress, or the Pennsylvania wall stone, or the windows.
Okay. I'm willing to make a motion to approve this, even though we're going to need to confirm these building elevations. How do other people feel about this application?
Well, I feel like generally, I think it's okay. There's a lot of glazing, it seems to me, on that one elevation that is not necessarily in harmony or in keeping with ag overlay or with the barn structure as you are restoring it. So I'm a little reluctant on that one. And I think, I don't know, I guess we could condition the approval. You could condition the approval on the resubmission of all this data that's missing, because when we write the resolution, we have to have all this information in there. So I understand. So I'm trying to explain that to him. We have to have all that data to be able to write the resolution specifically, so that when the building inspector goes, we each go for our various inspections, we can say, yes, this comports with what was submitted. And right now, the submission is missing some elements. It's missing information, although I don't think it doesn't change specifically the overall the feel of the design, which I think is where you're going, right, Frank? Do we generally approve of the design? I think we could probably do that and condition the approval on a future submission that would tie these loose ends together.
I would think that the kind of items we're asking for could be submitted as a follow-up without holding up any issuing of building permit and being able to get started. I mean, to be able to, people make changes in lighting design all the time, so we should be able to getting those shown on the elevation and pointing out a change from brake metal to a wooden spandrel seems pretty straightforward.
Right. I mean, I will say we do have a light. They're not on the elevations, but the lights are on the lighting plan.
Right.
And it's not like they're 60 lights on one elevation.
Right. But we also need the whatever transaction to occur that they're going to not subdivide this thing. They've agreed to that, but that's a document that has to be drafted.
Is that
and
us,
drawn.
or is that a question for our legal counsel?
Legal counsel does it, but that's
No, it's a question I'm asking Charlie. Yeah. Is that something that the ARB requires, or is that a requirement of the building department to grant the permit?
So
do we need record that a letter from the applicant stating that this will not be subdivided? Is that our responsibility?
I would like to look at the subdivision approval for the original subdivision, because a lot of times when the town grants a subdivision approval, there's a requirement that you will not be able to further subdivide the property. So this might be a moot point.
Right.
I need to look at the subdivision from the 60s. So I think Will has it. We can review it. Aside from that, the only way you would be able to prevent it, I think, I'd have to look into it, is you'd have to file a covenant with the county saying that you'll no longer subdivide it, I think. I'm not positive. But a letter would, I think a letter would suffice. I think that, I got to look at the code closer. I think they can still subdivide the property. It's just that they can't subdivide it in a way that would eliminate, because right now they have to have double pyramid setbacks.
Right.
If you were to subdivide, the subdivision would not be able to impinge upon that double.
Right.
So they can subdivide it, but it just can't be such a subdivision that it would now be too tall for that double setback, which I think realistically and practically speaking, they're not subdividing this property. But that's just...
I guess I'm just asking procedurally, is this something that the Architectural Review Board needs for an approval that that it meets that criteria, that legal criteria, or I mean, or is it our role to confirm that this is, or is this something under the building department?
This would be on the building department.
That would, I would think.
Yeah.
And I understand what you're saying, Kathy, but I don't think the enforcement of that legal document is our purview.
No, it's not our, we don't have any enforcement powers. But when you look at the code, the way it's written, there are 4 criteria, and we are meant to confirm that those 4 criteria are met. And this is the one that I am unable to confirm without a document. Because it
says the owner covenant.
I guess my question is,
it's a rare exception that we make.
To file a covenant at the county saying that they will not subdivide it in a way. I mean, that would be
it's like, I'm just wondering, like, whether it's like saying we need to, you know, they need to have legal ownership of this property for our approval. That's under sort of, yes, there's a legal requirement that certain legal conditions are met to get a building permit, to get Architectural Review Board approval, but I'm not sure that this is something that we need to have proof that it's been met.
I think
I'm not saying that it doesn't have to be met. My question is, who enforces that? Who is the one responsible for reviewing that document that they're in compliance?
They can give us a piece of paper saying that they won't do it, and which they have already, I believe. They submitted something. And
okay, as long as
it's on the town
that's
now
all.
to understand that this property cannot be modified in a way that would violate
Right.
provision. The only way it would have to be filed with the building department, and it'll be on the property card. It will be.
It'll be documented, you're saying? Yes, yes. That's all I want to know.
Okay.
I mean, we're granting an exception to the height, which is unusual, you know, and we've only done it one other time since I've been on this board. So I just want to make sure we're following our rules. And if we have a letter so stating, great. That's all I needed to know. But the last I knew, there wasn't such a thing. So
Is this a condition of approval?
yeah.
That we need proof that this will not be subdivided?
Can I ask a question? It's an A5 zone. The property's 3 acres. Isn't by definition, it's not subdividable anyway? I mean, the owner's happy to covenant that it will not be further subdivided, but
practical
a
matter.
3
I
acre
see what
property
you're
in a,
saying.
Practically speaking,
Mhm.
this property will never be subdivided. It's just not gonna. It's not even about subdividing. It would be more along the lines of a lot line modification, where you were to take 20 feet from the northern part and add it to the other part, and then it would mess up with the double pyramid. That's what really, I think, what the issue is.
and we would be happy for the building department, for you guys, whoever needs it at the town's attorney's office, to covenant that the lot will not be
Great.
subdivided at this
Great.
point.
That's perfect.
whoever-
Thank you.
Whoever needs that, we get them an attorney, do that for you guys. So,
Okay. So if the board is okay with this, I'm not going to put this as a condition of approval, but it is something that we should confirm.
It's a box we have to check. Yeah.
Okay.
They're on the record. We put it on the record. They can. It's been pretty much clearly established that this is approved pursuant to the code, and that they cannot alter the property lines in a way that would
Right.
violate the code.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And confirming, Larry, that this is a 7,405 square foot, because that'll be in the resolution. Correct. I'm ready to make a motion. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application as presented for a 7,405 square foot single residence as presented at 35 feet, and materials as presented, conditions of our approval, receipt of elevations showing the building height, the heights of the top of the building volumes. The exterior lighting is on the building elevations, and just calling out that that spandrel between those floors is going to be cypress and not some brake metals. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Great. Okay, moving on to fences, walls, gates, and berms. First one, 67 Old Montauk Highway, Amagansett, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-172-4-8.16. This is Diane.
Yes. Well, currently, this is a very chaotic construction site. So there's nothing in the pictures. This indicates where one of the driveways will be. Fortunately, the gates, to the best of my understanding, have not been, have only been proposed and not built, because I think the applicant needs to reconsider a bit. What is being proposed, you can see the drawings of these gates. It's not very clear, but what they are is 3-inch wide planks of Alaskan yellow cedar, spaced 1 inch apart, which basically translates to being 75% solid.
Oh.
And they are proposed at 5 foot 5 inches, and there are 2 of them, one 16 feet wide and one 14 and a half feet wide. So it appears to me they appear too massive and wall-like, even though I feel that, I mean, you can see the residence, which is very sleek. And I think that these gates probably are in keeping with the look of the house, but it is our job to try and maintain some semblance of the streetscape. And this is Old Montauk Highway, and I think that the proportions and the spacing need to be reconsidered.
What is the gap again, the board size and the gap?
1 inch gap.
1 inch gap with 3-inch boards.
Sure, come on up. If you could just state your name for the record.
Sean Webb from Formarch, representing the owner. Yeah, so basically the yellow Alaskan cedar is what's on the house, and it's a rough hewn, so it grays out very, very, very mellow. So, the entire, front of the lot is all green, so they'll basically just be ensconced in the greenery. I don't think they'll have a huge impact because they will just be a very soft silver gray. We can look at, if you want to have more spacing or something, I guess we could look at something like that.
I think you should, if you looked at the height a bit.
Obviously we're trying to get some deer protection, but
I understand, and I understand that the house is highly stylized, and that you want to carry it. I mean, the greenery is, right now you can't see any greenery. It's just, mean, it's chaos, total chaos there. But imagining it, and the greenery does go away usually somewhat in the winter, and these are very substantial gates, and there's 2 of them. So I think they need to be rethought.
Well, can you pull up the survey and we zoom in on the location of them?
The lot is 1.3 acres.
I think the one on the angle is not going to have a whole lot of impact because it's only going to be sort of partially seen. And there is, I know it is very chaotic right now. Hopefully within the next week or 2, it's going to clear out.
Yeah.
But everything it will be very greened in. So no, I don't think it's going to have a huge impact on the street one way or the other. But
one observation I have is the one on the left. Typically you see a gate that is perpendicular to the, go back to the survey, please, Will, that is perpendicular to the driveway, and I realize it's a,
Well, the issue is here because it's a tight situation, that gate does actually not have a call box because the call box has to be within the property line. So that's why the other one is pulled back where they can have a call box.
And it's also sliding, so.
Right.
oh, it's a sliding gate.
Yeah, that's a sliding gate. Yeah. The other one opens double.
Okay, so I mean, in general, the way, I've been on this board for 2.5 years, and there's certain criteria, I'm sure you've watched these yourself, that to consider gates is that, like, the visual impact of the material, the height, like the opacity, and how far it is from the street. So I think the material is nice.
Me too.
A couple of things have been raised is, of course, the spacing of the boards, concerns about the opacity of that. I mean, a comment I would have is I think you could, if you perhaps removed a board or so, then increase the opacity of this gate, I think functionally it could still provide privacy to the owners as well as,
What would be if we went to if it's 1 inch now, if we went to 2.5 or 3 inches between, would that be acceptable?
Yeah, 50% is one that we usually.
I would like to see.
That's a goal.
I mean, it's a goal. I would like to see at least 2 or 3 boards removed from this if you're going to go with that height.
We can make that work.
It's 5.5 feet high. Is that what it was?
You mean maintain the height, but take those boards out and space the remaining boards.
That's one solution to it.
Something
right?
like that.
And then, there are other ways to see what's the visual impact of a gate. One is how close it is to the street. And this one I wouldn't have such an issue with it if it were tucked back down like a flag lot, or if it were further into the property, but this is right on the street. So I think it's, I don't want to say that we have a 2-strike rule, but we've got kind of 2 strikes against it, right? That gate right now. So if my way I'm reading this board is, I think this might not be approved as presented. So if you could come back to the board with greater opacity, perhaps consider,
Lesser.
I would say.
Greater transparency.
Greater, yes.
Greater
that's what you mean,
transparency,
yes.
thank you. Greater transparency, and it'd be great if you could consider moving that one off of the property line, but if it's much more transparent, I think I would be amenable to it.
I think it would be to your benefit to also indicate for us in a revised plan to show that, like, a site plan with some sense of the
Vegetation.
of what the vegetation is and is proposed there in the easement. I understand it's on that sliding gate, it's completely off your property. There's nothing you can really put there yourself. I mean, you could.
Well, it is already well into the easement. It is well.
That would be a good thing to really indicate clearly, either whether it's photos or a site plan with some vegetation done. So we don't see that sitting bare out there as you zip by on the old Montauk Highway.
And is this something that do I have to do a whole new presentation, or can I come back at a next meeting, or?
Well, I have to say, there's certain lead times in terms of materials that are received, like we need a received date by X to get on the next one.
And Julie sets the agendas here.
I can't.
Sorry?
Yeah.
So once I receive materials.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if you would aim for 50% transparency, you would have a better, I think we'd be more amenable to that. I mean, generally speaking, we don't even like the gates to be as high as these are, but I take the point of its location. But one of the way the code reads, we don't want our fences and gates to present a walled-in look. We're very specifically directed not to do that. So this is even with that little 1-inch gap. It's a little too much like a wall. So, and we have, I can't speak for everyone, but we have favorably looked at 50% transparency. So I think if you would come back with that kind of design, you'd be more successful.
The other option is to design a 4-foot high fence and with a gate, in which case you're not in front of us at all.
Exactly.
Right.
4 feet, it's all yours.
Feet high, and it can look just like the house.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we'll send you we'll send you a follow-up letter, and there's another request, I would say graphically, the rendering, the line drawing of the wood is quite nice, but I think it would help us better see
Read it.
the transparency. If you could just make it like,
That's a
even
really
if you
good point.
poche it like dark gray, so instead of just a line drawing would be great.
Understand. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, next application, still fence as well as gates and berms. 2 Great Oak Way, East Hampton, New York, Suffolk County tax map number 300-55-7-3-.16. Kathy, this is you.
Okay, thank you. I see that Mr. Adib is here. Welcome, Mr. Adib. If you want to approach the microphone, you can. I'll introduce the application, and then if you'd like to make any comments, this application is to approve an existing fence. I said there's like a zillion pictures of this too, that was flagged by code enforcement for its being too high. It's about 8 feet in most instances. This lot neighbors 4 Great Oak Way, which was one of the gates we looked at recently, and I flagged this gate to as an example, and I think that's what brought code enforcement down on you. So sorry, but we have to play by the rules. So anyway, this is a lot of about 2 acres. It's up in Northwest Woods, and that's, if you could stop there, please, Will, that would be helpful. This is an example. They're huge oak trees there. It's a beautiful lot. And just to the left, you can see this black wire mesh fencing. Most of it is over the permitted. It's the fence post to the left of that old tree is 103 inches, which is too high.
And where is that? I guess we could see it on the survey, but where is that relative to the front property line? Is it actually on the applicant's property?
Yeah, I think it is. It's there.
It waves a little bit.
Yeah.
Survey's not accurate.
Oh,
Survey's from 2018.
Oh, the survey isn't
Gotcha.
It doesn't have anything on it.
okay. Well, that's a good question. I didn't think to ask about that. So it might be that if that fencing is not on your property, you're gonna have to move it back so that it's on your property. But let me just finish my overview.
Just to show the fence in relation to the trees that it.
Right. Give me 1 second and we'll get to you in a minute, Mr. You can give it, just hold on to it for 1 minute because I have a few more comments I want to make and then we'll be happy to hear from you. But that's such a good point, Chris. I didn't even think of that. It might be in the right of way. And that could be moved back, I assume. But the rest of the property, if you just scroll through the photos, it's very densely landscape with very mature landscaping. These are big trees. That's one of the few places where you can actually see the fence from the yard. It backs up to a reserve there. You can kind of see it there in the hedge. It's among those fences that, because of its color and the size of the mesh, it blends well into the landscaping. When the applicant, bought the property, they were asked to revegetate because it had been overcleared, which they've done, but they've had 2, kind of massive deer infestations that have, kind of cleared out what they've planted to meet the clearing obligation. So it's a little bit of a, I don't know, there's an irony there that they were, had in order to keep the vegetation that they're required, they had to fence it, and they can't, the fences aren't permitted to be high enough to allow them to keep it. So it's a little circular in its logic. But as you can see, it's completely surrounded by these very, very big evergreen trees, and the fence is within it. I couldn't even see it in some places. So apart from that good catch Chris made about that fence in the front, that may be in the right of way, because that tree is in front of it. You could scroll through back to the beginning, please, Will. That one with the picture of the big tree and this part of the gate there. That's it. Thank you. I'm assuming, yeah, I think you're right. I think that is in the right of way. That whole business is in the right of way. So that would have to be moved. But apart from that, and we can talk about the gate another time because the fence is before us, but the gate I also discussed with Mr. Adib and his wife when I went to for my site inspection, that the gate has no approval, and we'd have to revisit that because I don't think it comports either with the code. But apart from this business in the front here, I would recommend to the board that we just allow them to keep this fencing. But Mr. Adib, if you would like to make any comments?
Well, thank you very much. You explained it perfectly. Thank you. My name is Mehdi Adib. I'm the owner of the property. And as you mentioned, we spent, both my wife and I, avid gardeners. We spend a lot of time developing our garden to be very nice, beautiful for everything. And when we moved here, and we did that twice before this gate, before this entrance gate was installed, the place did have fences, the same fence that you see from a height point of view, but it was in a very bad shape. It was a wooden pole, it was already falling down and so on. All we did, we replaced it with a proper, very thin plastic
wire mesh, yeah, the mesh, yeah.
Fully integrated into the branches and so on. So to protect the access of the deer, our area in Northwest Wood, as you probably know, has a very heavy thing. City is already set next door to us, the area to study the effect of deer in our area, just next door to our house.
Yeah, there's a deer exclosure.
We have to put this height a little bit above 4 foot, which is the standard, but we made sure, first of all, the material is very thin, and made sure that it is integrated into the trees so that it's not so easily visible. I took some pictures in addition to Kathy, if you need to see that. So, and
so I think the question before us is really, I don't know what your survey, if the survey indicates that's, Charlie, what were you saying about the survey? It's not any.
6 years old.
Okay.
It's not accurate. It doesn't show the gate, it doesn't show the. No.
Oh, okay.
it was installed by us.
Yeah.
It was not by the engineer.
Okay.
It's not, it needs, if we're gonna approve it, it needs to be on a survey.
Right,
If we're
okay.
going to approve, whatever we approve, it has to, well, two things.
Yeah.
The survey needs to show what's on the property now.
Get
So-
the surveyor to come and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So you'll need an updated survey.
Sure.
And then the survey is going to, like, if you want to move any fences, if you want to add any fences, it will need to be depicted on the survey because that's the legal document that we go by.
Right.
Unfortunately, we didn't know it.
Yeah, no, of course. These are often mistakes of, of unawareness. But one thing I would ask you to take care of is just figure out where that fence is in relation to the street so that when you get the surveyor there. Right, but also I'm not a surveyor, but if it's not 20 feet from the edge of the pavement, then you've got that fence on the town's property and you're going to have to move it.
Actually,
20. Yeah.
for clarity, it may not be, it may be the owner's property, but the town needs to keep it clear for what do we call that?
An easement.
It's a right of way.
Right of way.
It's a right of way. The town.
Right.
understand.
Yeah, the town has a 20-foot right-of-way on all properties, so you can't put any structures on it. You can't put, you can plant it, but you can't put a structure. Right, but
Because to clear, this gate is not blocked or anything, it's purely just an obstruction for you.
right, we're not going to talk about the gate right now. We're not going to talk about the, yeah.
Well,
Right, but
Yeah.
I just want to, if you're going to the trouble and expense of having the survey done, at least have the fence in the proper position, so you don't have to resurvey it. Because if you come back to us and we look at the survey and it is on the town's property, you're gonna have to do it all over again. Okay,
okay, so, yeah, two things I want to, so one is, what is the application here? I just want to make sure, because the application states, what are we seeking approval for? Is it a maximum height of 6 feet, 6 inches on the property? Because that's what the application states.
yeah, I think most of it's higher than that.
Okay, because we
Yeah.
need to know
Yeah,
if it's going to be above 6 feet, or if it's going to be to not, actually not comply, if it's not going to meet the zoning and you need our approval, we need to know, so we'll need to know the desired height that you're looking for approval, instead of us going out there and saying, all right, it's 8.2 here and it's 7.5 here.
Yeah.
We need a number.
Yeah.
And you'll need to meet that number.
yeah, I think it's over 6 feet, 6 inches, right? It's closer to 7. Yeah, it's closer to 7 feet in most places, but that needs, so we're going to have to amend, you're going to have to amend the application and then also have the fence depicted on the survey. And it would be useful for them to indicate the height too. Okay.
A new application with a survey showing all the information.
Right. Great.
Perfect.
Perfect.
I would say talk with Julie to make sure, I'm not sure you're going to need a new
Doesn't have
application
from
form.
scratch, yeah.
So just talk with Julie about what documents you would need. If you're going to say the number you want, maximum height is 6 feet, 6 inches, I think you don't need to amend this application. In terms of the gate, so that's one, there's the survey, needs to applicate, and then there's the issue about the gate. So this gate is not approved, correct? So I want you to understand that even though we can approve, I'm not saying we will, but we have the right to approve fencing of 6 foot 6 inches. I don't want you to be under the impression that we're just going to go out and you're going to get a certificate of occupancy for that. Because our understanding is if that gate is not compliant and you don't have approval for that, the building department is not going to issue a certificate of occupancy for the fences that you're applying for. It's going to hold it up. So we can give you that approval for the fencing, but I don't want you to have the impression that that the building department is going to walk out there and not having a problem and only going to look at the fences, because they're going to see the gate and say I want you to know that you need to get approval for that gate.
Right.
So
we discussed that a little bit.
Right.
No,
It's
from
us.
From us.
From us, because it doesn't meet, it's greater than 4 feet high.
Right.
Right.
And there's also lighting.
Pointed out before, if the fence is barrier, fence is 6 foot 6. If the gate is not the same, then the whole object of preventing the purpose of this installation is completely gone.
Okay, I just want to let you know that we are not legally allowed to approve a gate higher than 6 feet. What is the height of the gate? We're not allowed to require, we can approve a fencing, give exceptions up to 8 feet. If it's a certain kind of fence. We cannot, under any circumstance, except under some agricultural property, which this is not, like a farm.
Right.
We can't approve anything greater than 6 feet.
Right.
So I'm letting you know, if your gate is higher than 6 feet, regardless of the architecture of it, it's going to have to come down.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be lower.
One proposal I make in my next submission would be to maybe adjust the height, to remove some of the
boards, right.
bases of the roof to reduce the height
Right.
to 6 feet.
There's also lighting on those two columns. I mean, I don't know that we need to get into all that at
No,
this
we don't
point,
need to, but I don't
I
want-
think it would be useful to, we talked about this the other day when I was at the site visit. I mentioned all these things because there's that column, which is 4 feet, but it's got a light on the top of it, which also needs approval. So,
But these columns have been built at the same time as the house.
right.
So
Okay.
They were pre-existing.
Years old, they're not far
Okay.
along. They have nothing to do with it.
Okay, I guess the reason I brought this up is I don't want you to walk away from this meeting and us saying, okay, all you need to do is like lower your fence from 6 foot 6 inches, and then you come back and say, oh, by the way,
Right.
like you need to apply for a gate and we can't do anything. We can't give you any like legal approval of fence.
We'll send you a follow-up letter with a
Right.
list of things that apply to the gate, and we'll try to give you some advice, apply to the fence, and then we'll give you some advice about the gate. Okay?
Okay.
And then hopefully we can get the whole thing done.
Right. So again, we'll send you a follow-up letter. We'll need an updated survey. You may need to amend your application. So, hope this has been helpful. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, next application, 91 Squaw Road in East Hampton, Suffolk County, tax map number 300. Do we always have to say 300? 300-59-2-12.1. Kathy, again, this is
This
you.
is me. This is the Sains residence. Is the applicant or a representative here? Hi. Okay, so this is an application for some gates that are presently metal to be replaced by woods. This is on Squaw Road. It's up off Three Mile Harbor Road. It's got a western exposure. That's the house. It's very nice, very quiet up there. You remember Squaw Road, it's pretty. And you can see the water, so that's good. The gates, okay, this one is along Squaw Road on the north exposure. I guess, enlarge that. Oh, no, you know what that is? That's a post. That's not where the gate is going. Okay, just keep scrolling through, Will, and I'll explain it. So there's a gate back here. If you can enlarge that, that's next to the garage, which as we looked at the house was off to the right. Should be the southern exposure. So the problem I had is that the posts are 96 inches, most of them, and the gates were like 73 inches. So this one is the south gate, the posts were over 8 feet and the wire was 80 inches. So I'm a little, it's too tall. And so I know you're going to replace these with
6 foot,
wood.
6 foot wood.
Okay, okay. So let's keep scrolling. The other two gates are, it's just the posts are very high.
Yeah,
So-
that will be
So
removed.
that, it just implies it's going to be higher than it is. So as long as you understand, you have to bring that down. This is the
Right.
gate that's along the northern side, which is,
Way in the back,
Yeah,
squat
yeah.
in the way back
Right.
corner.
yes, I met a deer there on my way to take the picture. It was
Yeah.
actually in the yard.
They're welcome.
Yeah. And there's some wire, but there's some wire that runs across that functions as a
That's all gone.
barrier.
That is all gone.
I was just there Monday.
Oh, I was.
No, it's gonna.
It's there now.
Right? Or
It's
then
there
he's
now.
taking it
Well, I'm
down.
saying, I did the site inspection on Monday and it was there.
Oh,
so-
okay.
But you're saying it will be removed. Okay. And then there's another one, if you could just scroll through, I think that's the same. There we go, that one. So I think that the thing that we don't have is a an image, excuse me, of the wooden gate that you're proposing.
There was an elevation submitted with the application, two
Okay.
elevations.
Oh, great.
Solid wood fencing.
One, the furthest one back in the wooded area, we felt that, I'm sorry, I'm Liz Handfry, I'm the landscape architect
Hi, Liz.
for Emily and Andy Sains.
Why don't I have those? I don't have those. Okay, well,
I have a copy here.
yeah, all right, well, I don't seem to
We can
have it.
walk through it on the
Yeah.
screen,
Okay,
right?
let's just walk through it
Yeah.
on the screen. It would have been helpful for me to have it.
Here's the elevation.
There they go.
Okay,
The,
okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
on the furthest gate, the way back corner, we thought we should keep it rural in character.
Uh-huh.
Keep it natural in color, that it would gray out and sort of blend in and keep the wooded area and the rural character of the street as is.
And that's the one on the bottom?
Correct. Well-made, sturdy, pool code compliant, but yet just a very simple gate that would weather out and work, blend into the wooded area.
And that's labeled as 6 feet high by 7'5" wide on the
Correct.
Wallbridge survey, but it's detailed. The posts are detailed a little bit taller on the drawing.
Other 2 inch,
Yeah, a couple of inches taller.
we can easily lower the top of those posts if the couple inches is an issue.
Yeah, that it
No,
can't be higher
it's going
than
to tie
6
in with
feet.
with another application we have.
Yeah,
where-
We can, that's
it
easy
can't be higher
too.
than 6 feet.
Yeah, it's not even like,
Yeah.
can you please? It's, we don't have the power to grant you that.
Right.
over 6
Got
feet.
It has to be the same.
And that's not an issue, I don't think, that to lower that. The other gate on the left side of the front of the house, which is the more
Yeah.
decorative Chippendale gate, it would take on more of the character of the house. They have other low Chippendale gates, and it would just take on the character, and it's on the far side of the house tucked into, again, kind of a wooded area, but it would be stained white as to blend in with the house and the trim on the house. So there are two reasons. The rear gate, the septic is back there, so we thought that there should be some access. If there's ever any issues in the future. It's not going to be a heavily used gate, but it's an access way so that the septic company can get in to do whatever they need to do. That would be the only way they could get in. The gate on the left side of the house is tucked in. It's not visible from anywhere within the house. A more personal issue, there's an autistic child who likes to go for walks, and they would seeking approval for the gate on top of that so that the latches are higher, that, it's out of sight, so it's a little bit more secure. So those two gates, the one in the rear of the property and the one to the left of the front of the house, they were looking, because they're not visible from the living area of the house, they were hoping to gain approval for a 6-foot high gate. As I understood it and understood the code, the gate on the right of the garage could be 6 feet. It's code compliant at 6 feet. But yet we would match the gates, and they would have the Chippendale detail
Right,
at the
because
top
it's
and
in
stained
the,
white.
right, it's past the facade. I think I don't have any real problem with the height of these gates. It's the transparency I'm having a little trouble with, as we had with our previous applicant. We usually recommend 50% transparency, and it's really the view from the public's eye that we're looking to mitigate rather than that of the homeowner. So the idea is so that you can see through a little bit, so that you have, much as you have now, I like those gates. I can see,
So- And I'm sorry, do you want to speak?
I just wanted to mention, part of the issue with the sign, not a child's security, but we were trying to keep from having told the gate. I don't want, that's why it's a little higher, because that's concern.
Right. Right.
We didn't want to be able to scale.
Right. Oh, that's a fair concern. Yeah, so, well, that's a little bit of a conundrum in terms of the transparency issue. Is there any other way to make this transparent without toe holds?
I think that we could do the same design as the one on the right, don't you think?
Well, I have a thought. I brought the thought with me, just in case. Can I present it?
Yeah.
So there's one of two thoughts. Was to either do spindles, you know, with spaced spindles,
Right.
and or lattice on the bottom.
Yeah, that'd be
So
nice.
Gives you more of your transparency.
I think it also has a very kind of rural character
Quality
to
to
it.
it, yes.
It's
Yeah.
cottagey, which is the house
Yeah.
is very cottagey, which is quite nice. Those are just two things that we put and thought about.
Right, that's great. That's much better, to my mind.
I'm amenable to it.
Yeah.
So can I just say, can we go back to the survey? So I just want to make sure the board understands what, because there's a lot of fencing on the property. And I also do want to state that I appreciate that you've kept the front of your house open. I know this property. I live not too far from it. I bike with my daughter nearby it. I
that's
appreciate
nice.
that you keep your front yard open. So just so the board knows that we have, because Squaw Road wraps around this property, it's a corner,
Right.
we have two front yards.
Mhm.
So, and the gate, wait a minute, I'm looking at,
There's
that's the old survey.
there's a newer survey.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes, we updated the survey.
it shows,
So I want to
it shows
show
the
where,
three,
just to remind everybody where the proposed gates are.
it shows the three gates labeled in green text.
Yeah,
If you look
Yeah.
at the original plan, the gates are located on there, and
Right.
they're located on the survey as well.
yeah. Oh, here we go. Hopefully this is it. So
It's dated, it's
got
5/10/24.
green lettering.
It's the date.
5/10/24 is the.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there it is. That's it.
Okay, if you can zoom in a little
helpful.
bit, there we go. So the green is calling out where two proposed gates are. One is off to the right, way back in the rear yard.
Mhm.
And just to remind everybody, I haven't seen this, but the back of the front, but according to the survey, this is all wire fencing around the property.
Right.
And because it's on the top of the page, it's 4-foot wire fencing. It's front yard, so it's 4-foot wire
Right.
fencing in the front yard. And then the other Chippendale gate being proposed is the one
You
at the
just
top
gotta-
left.
Yes.
And then way on the bottom right, where it says garage,
It's just next to the garage there.
yeah.
You have to
like,
scroll up
there
a
you go.
That's the split rail
Yeah,
fence
that's right.
down there.
Yeah.
So that's what we're considering. I just wanted to, so everybody understands.
And as I
that.
understand it, the gate by the garage does it need ARB approval as well, even if it meets code? I don't, I'm
If it's
asking.
not, if it's not in the front yard, correct, Charlie? We don't,
Is that right?
Right.
It's
right.
not in the front yard.
if it's not in the front yard.
It's like putting up
you
a
can go to
6-foot fence back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can return it to your house at 6 feet. So
So it's just those other two gates.
it's really those two other gates we're considering. I mean, I'm amenable to what you had presented, and I understand what your situation you're dealing with. And I might feel differently if it were like wooden fencing along the whole way, but this is two gates where it's all wire fencing. So you would need to come back to us with a revised design. The top of any gate structure cannot exceed 6 feet. I think the board would appreciate as low as you can go for us. And for that one design you showed that had the vertical boards, spindles, I mean, I would prefer that be every other one, like at least 50% transparency.
We have to make it pool code compliant too. So
Right.
there's a
No more than
spacing.
4-inch gap.
Yeah, but
So-
I think that's, depends on the height of the fence. It's the
Oh,
whole
right,
sort of
right,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, depends. So whatever meets code. But if you can come back to us a design, and if you can make that like we asked the applicant for the gate, where it's there's a gap in a board. If you could fill it in, like with whether brown or gray or something, so we get a sense visually of what's open and what's not, that would be great.
Now, so the solid board gate along the back of Squaw.
You mean top right?
Yeah, the one.
Yeah, the one way in the back in the woods.
Accessing the back of your property there. Yeah.
Our reluctance, one of our reluctances was that it was just going to be a very decorative back there, and it was meant to sort of disappear and not be a functioning gate, just a gate as if there was a problem to get through, and to sort of have it disappear back into the woods. So that was our reasoning with the natural, again, well-built, solid gate.
Could you open it a little bit?
That's what I was going to suggest. Just remove a few slats. You don't have to redesign the whole thing, but just put some transparency.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, remove some boards, and that would get us where we need to go.
Okay,
It doesn't have to match the other gate.
Yeah. I can understand. I think we can handle that.
If you could come back to us, and I would appreciate if you could perhaps lower that to like 5'6" or so, as opposed to 6 feet. A little bit of relief in the height would help.
Okay, well, I'll look at the
Because that's actually drawn as 6 feet
The ratio.
for the gate, and then there's a couple of inches of clearance below it. And then the posts raise up above it, so.
Right, to meet pool code, the bottom 4 feet has to meet the pool code recommendations. And then I'll play with it, and we'll resubmit.
I mean, I think you understand what we're after here, so.
And even below 4 feet, if you think about the idea that somebody doesn't even have to come to us for a 4-foot high fence, even if it's a solid wall of a 4-foot high fence, the lower part, you're not really, you'd have to really squat down to be seeing through that. So, the upper.
I don't want him sticking his toes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fine.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But if there's
Generally, I've seen a lot of fences come through the ARB, and it seems that, solid below and getting lighter and more transparent up where you're walking past on Squaw Road, or you could, where you feel that it's a bit more open, might be more.
Which side of the fence is this elevation? Is this street side or your backyard?
This is the backyard.
This would be the street side. It's the more decorative side. Usually you put your decorative side out.
It hinges in though, so I guess the hinges would be on the other side.
Oh, you're swinging in. I'm sorry, you're right. That goes in because the hinges swinging in. You're right. So the plain boards are on the outside, just the plain.
So this is the view from the house.
But you don't want this person to be stepping on the board.
Yeah.
So
it's only one. Well, it's the frame of the fence. You have to have the frame of the fence to frame it, and then that's it.
Okay. Well, I think we've got enough to come back to here. So,
were you saying that you were good with the bottom 4 feet of the fence being solid back there in the back?
I mean, what I say is just one guy's opinion.
Okay.
I think the suggestion is you could work up a couple of designs, and I think what Chris was saying, not to speak for you, is just you could try a solid bottom 4 feet and then make your transparency up top. If you felt that somehow worked, but if the more transparency you have, the better.
Or another route would be figure out the maximum board width, the gap you can work with by code, and then see where you are with transparency.
That's a great idea.
And then perhaps consider a smaller board size as opposed to this maybe a 1x8 I'm looking at, I think. So if you consider a 1x6 or even 1x4 to keep that gap, but more boards gives you greater transparency.
Good idea.
So, okay, so we'll send you a follow-up letter. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, next one. Got a lot. 66 Old Montauk Highway, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-172-2-27. Diane, this is you.
Yes. This is an application for a driveway gate and a pedestrian gate on Old Montauk Highway, directly across the street from the application that I explained previously. But this is a somewhat more serene and traditional situation. The gates that they are proposing are 5 feet high and 50% transparent already. So I think they've gotten the message.
Yeah.
They've gotten the message. And actually it looks very nice. It's very wooded. And I mean, obviously we would encourage maintaining, to maintain the character, even perhaps a shorter gate. But I think the material and the spacing and the situation within the Old Montauk Highway is very nice.
Okay.
Looks good.
Can we see the survey, please?
I think this
I would love
came
to
before us not too long ago.
Okay, and then we'll let the applicant speak. I just want to point out, so let's zoom into Old Montauk Highway, the gates. So I just want to point out something that had come up in a meeting. Zoom in pretty close to the gate there on Old Montauk Highway. So is there a return of the gate? In other words, is it just one like vertical slatted sliding gate, or is there a structure that returns on the sides?
You mean to meet the fence?
Maybe it's a good time for the applicant to introduce herself and explain the project.
Sure. Hi, my name is Emily Shenton, Shenton Architects. I think if you go to the plan, you'll have your answer. As it relates to the vehicular gate, as well as the pedestrian gate, there is a slight return. It's 3'6" set back from the property line.
3'6" in plan, same height.
Plan, same height. That's right, made out of the same clear cedar. This is the sample that we've made for you to show the transparency. It's 50/50, 2-inch boards, vertical slats. It matches the character of the siding, which will be on the buildings beyond, but also in keeping with the historic nature, and it will silver out. It's not.
Yeah. Okay, so you got a diagonal to keep it from the boards from moving too much.
That's right. It's 14 feet in length, so you need the structural engineers advised.
And would that be painted black steel or?
Correct. The mock-up is wood, but it's painted black, so you can get the sense of what it would ultimately feel and look like.
This is a means and methods construction thing, not an ARB thing, but I'm a little worried about the boards on the ends potentially moving. I don't know if you want to increase the thickness of your board. It would seem that, and that works, but what's the width of, and like the size of the board?
The thickness of each of the individual 2-inch boards?
Is that a 5/4 or?
Correct.
Okay. Again, I wouldn't want you to build this beautiful gate and have all these boards like start to move a lot. So,
understood. We can cross-check the structural engineering component of it. I don't want that to happen either. I don't think my client does.
It does happen because it gets beaten up, So I wanted to raise this issue with the board about just the returns, and it also happens on the pedestrian gate, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so if we can go back, Will, to the rendering. I mean, and let's zoom in on the gate there. Actually, the pedestrian gate, let's start with. I mean, I would prefer that there would not be this sort of like, it's sort of like you're entering this, I don't mean this in a sort of derogatory way, like sort of a caged situation because of those three sides. I think that the gate and the fence are quite elegant, but to me, the issue is the returns. And I'm wondering if there's a way in which you could keep this design, but I'm curious what other board
I
members
feel the
think
same
about
way. It
this.
looks like a call box.
I
Yeah.
think when we reviewed this property a few months ago, we mentioned that notion of how close to the street the fences would be, and to give a feel, or the gates would be, because it's such a vibrant streetscape there, and there's a language of different fences and gates, and landscape borders creating a street edge there. And I think that was one of the issues that we talked about, which was, bringing those too far forward can feel like it's too much of a wall to the street. And I agree with you, Frank. I think it's, an elegant design. It has a sense of openness, but I think it would be more successful to see the plantings coming in and having a mesh fence or something continuing through there to keep deer out.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it means pulling it forward a foot, and then again, having like deer fencing from that, it's going to save your client money too.
It will, yes.
It would look a lot
So
better.
pull it into 2/6, you're suggesting?
I would just say, just one panel, that would be my preference.
Okay.
And again, this is not about preferences, it's about harmony
Yeah.
with the streetscape. I think it's going to be work better with the streetscape if we don't have those returns.
Okay.
And you just run some some deer fencing,
Sure.
6 feet up to
Black
that,
mesh or something. Yes,
to
I
keep the
agree.
deer out.
I agree.
If you can do that too on that other gate, again, it's going to save your client money. I think I would be more amenable to it. I think it would be actually I don't want to say a model gate for how things, but it is. I think that I'm pleased with the design of this.
Yeah, me too.
Same.
I think it's very nice.
I think it finds a nice home. I mean, that streetscape is very varied, and it's quite lovely to have a sidewalk. And it's almost it's really part of the lanes, and it's.
So I think the way this would work is we would need you to revise the drawings, just take those off, and the survey, have those returns. Are they on the survey? I would imagine those returns would be on the survey. If they're not, then you don't need to update the survey, but just make sure obviously the survey reflects your intent. What's that?
One thing I would call out on the survey that's not there is I would like to see, just because there is a section in the code about how close the driveway gate is to the roadbed itself for emergency access.
Right.
Right now, you don't want to be, having your tail end of a truck hanging out in the road to pull in. I think it's probably fine, but I would ask the surveyor to shoot that line from the gate to the roadbed.
Right.
Can you point to there?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, those returns are not shown on the survey.
Right.
I don't believe either location. So, but yeah, the survey doesn't really give an indication of dimension back from anything.
Right. So this is another thing that's like a code requirement that we're not reviewing compliance with that, but you're going to have to meet it. So just make sure you follow up on that.
Sure.
So that's one. And again, remove the returns.
Remove the returns or reduce the returns, just so I'm clear, because there was a discussion about it going 1 foot less to 2/6, or remove it entirely, get rid of the returns entirely, remove it.
My vote would be to return it. That I'm one vote of 4. So
what do you mean by return it? I mean,
when I say returns, I mean, right now we have sort of a U-shaped plan of the gates so I would just prefer to have one.
Just the gate.
With just the gate,
with fencing.
Just the sliding gate panel on the pillar, and as well as the pedestrian gate.
Same.
So.
Okay, so the 2 perpendicular returns, don't reduce it, remove it.
Yeah.
That's my vote, and I think that's what I'm hearing from the board.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. For both gates.
So remove returns, okay.
Yeah, and I would say at least on the pedestrian gates, again, I'm not encouraging you to put it back towards the street, but if you feel you need 8 inches or 10 inches or a foot to make that work, I would be more amenable to that than what's currently drawn. I think you're going to have to, if your gate's going to have to be moved back for emergency access, then the board would probably like to see a return of the hedges to that gate. If you have to move the gate further back, we'd like to see the
Turn
hedges
those
moved.
hedges
And
to go
then
back
just
to
do
it.
some open
Okay.
fencing.
Yeah.
I liked the part about it being a model gate. Thank you.
We're not done yet, but we're going in that direction. I think it's quite elegant. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. And yeah, confirm because it will affect the transparency, confirm the durability of those boards moving at the end. It's 5 feet, you said?
Yes,
in
correct.
height? Yeah, so those
With 5/4 inch.
5/4 by what width?
Is it sapele?
Two. I'm sorry.
Is it sapele as a wood?
Mahogany?
It's a clear cedar,
Oh, okay.
which is what the siding of the historic home is, and the sheds around the site.
Yeah. I wouldn't want the boards to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cedar's
Warping.
very, yeah, it's a very light wood. It doesn't have the density of some of the heavier deck boards, so.
Yeah, you may want to consider like a mahogany. It'll silver out anyway, but again, means and methods, up to you. But I would even be fine with a resolution just saying like a clear wood, because it's going to gray out, whatever it's ipe or mahogany. Okay, so we'll send you a follow-up letter.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to do two things for extension of time and a CO inspection, because the agent for the applicant is going to dial in.
Is Tara on?
Is Tara on?
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Juno LLC.
But that's also a C of O. You're right about that. Yeah.
And excuse me, Frank, Karen did have to.
Okay.
The applicant's online. Is this the correct?
Okay. Okay, so we are going, okay, I'm sorry, I have my notes wrong. This is also a CO inspection. This is one property. This is Juno 9, this is 9 Tyson, this is yours, 9 Tyson Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk County, tax map number 300-189-6-2.3. First part of this application is an extension of time, and then we'll follow this up, because we're on it, of a CO inspection.
Right. Okay. So this is yes, this is a proposal for gates that are that what you see there is number 12. What they're proposing for number 9 is exactly the same. What's there at number 5 and 7? Will I have some more photographs? So I'm not quite sure. Don't quite understand if Tyson Lane is a public road, or is it a private? Because it feels like an enclave, and everyone has assumed this style, some of which we have approved. So ordinarily, I would say we don't like these gates, but I think precedent. I think there is a precedent that in this, on Tyson Lane, whatever kind of road it is, they have become acceptable and they have been approved. So there's 5 and 7, which they indicate, which we indicate in our resolution, that the gate designed, the number 9, is similar to the approved gates at 5 and 7. There's 5 and 7, and then I have a photo of 9. So they're basically all
solid vertical
So
boards.
the resolution reads that they're going to be similar?
How old is that resolution? No, that's part of what we've been.
Gate will be no higher than 6 feet with 6-foot columns that include half-inch lead-coated copper cap. The gate is designed similar to the approved gates at 5 and 7 Tyson Lane, and there were no architectural drawings submitted?
No.
Okay.
That's all.
Well, that was the design of the gate,
And
right?
so it's not only
necessarily
5 and 7, but
dimensions, or
I
just
took
not
some
included?
photographs of other gates. I mean, there are maybe 6 or 7 properties where the gates are all, well, this one is still it's still under construction, but finished gates that all have exactly the same appearance.
Okay, so, and this is one gate we are approving, not 2, correct?
This is one gate we are
Okay.
approving, yes.
Well, first we have to approve the extension of time, I guess, right?
Right, but I just also want to make the photo, so which one are we under consideration and which one has already been built that it's supposed to resemble?
Okay.
That's the one under consideration?
That's the one that we recognize in our resolution, and
That's the one we'll be giving the extension of time if we approve.
no.
Okay, that's the
Number
precedent.
9 is the one that is, they're asking for an extension of time and a C of O.
Okay, do we have a photograph
Number
of,
9,
full
and
photograph of
there's
that?
a bigger photograph of that.
Okay,
No, that's 12.
okay, so 12, so there's
That's
not,
5 and 7. Isn't there
where's
another?
9?
Well, it looks just like 5 and 7.
I trust you.
And is that 9?
Okay.
I think that's 9.
So that's the one in question.
Right.
Is that,
It's very, very,
okay, so the first motion is so this was passed in, what is the date on this?
February 16th, 2021.
2021,
The
so this is,
resolution.
And how tall is this actually built to?
right,
6
2021,
feet.
so this is, why is this need an
It's
extension of
not-
20?
Well,
Oh,
it
it's
was
like just
February,
passed
it's
it by
just- yeah, it
a
just
few months.
expired, yeah.
So our first motion would be, are we okay with the extension of
To
time?
make a motion
So would you
to
want to make
approve,
a motion
a
to,
motion to approve the extension of time for 9 Tyson Lane.
do
Second.
we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the extension of time is passed.
Right.
And now we're considering whether this meets the criteria of the resolution. So this is, I'll read it into the record. So this is same Suffolk County tax act number 300-189-6.2.39 Tyson Lane, issuance of a certificate of occupancy. So,
I mean, this is a conundrum for the ARB because we would normally oppose this gate. But since we have already approved similar, same, almost identical gates,
This was approved, we're just making sure it matches the resolution.
if it matches the resolution, we are basically
Yeah, we're
legally
bound.
bound
Yeah,
to
we're
approve
bound.
it. Well, we don't have, or put it another way, we have no grounds to deny it.
Yeah, we have no editing power now. We just have to,
Yeah.
if
So-
what's built matches the language in the resolution, we're sort of obliged to accept
So-
so
it.
then because of the circumstances,
But I appreciate your
we have
preamble.
no choice
Diane.
but to make a motion to approve this application for a certificate of occupancy and to instruct our staff to notify the building department that it's ready for a certificate of occupancy.
I'll
Okay,
second it. And I appreciate your preamble, Diane.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, passed.
I have my little thing.
So damn the previous board. Okay, next one. So agricultural overlays. Next one's 23 Fieldview Lane, East Hampton, New York, Suffolk County tax map number 300-159-1-18.5. Chris, this is you.
Okay, this is an application for 2 new pedestrian gates in a pool enclosure fence line attached to the left and the right-hand side of an existing house that's under renovation pursuant to our recent approval from April 11th, 2024, so not too long ago. They've been making some good progress on the house and the grounds, and it's looking great. The property is at 23 Fieldview Lane. it abuts an ag overlay zone on the rear of the property. But Fieldview Lane, as most of you know, connects off Cedar Street and connects eventually over to Long Lane.
So this is not in an ag overlay, it's
adjacent to. Yep. The pool enclosure fence that's in place is black mesh, 6 feet tall. The proposed gates are actually, as you can see, built and installed. The height of the gate posts is 6'6" above grade on the left double gate and 6'8" on the right single gate. The highest point of the gates themselves is 6'2" above grade. So essentially what I think we see this a lot where somebody has built a panel that's 6 foot and then it needs some clearance to the ground. So it ends up a couple of inches above. The posts are built so that the 6 foot mesh butts to the post, tucking underneath those cap post details. But that's not how they're depicted in the elevation, which is a sheer flat top of the posts in line with the 6 foot fence, which I guess would probably be achievable with a like a lead coat flashing cap or something, as opposed to the finial caps. So the posts and gates are white painted wood. They appear to be as described to match the white color of the house. The house is, just so you see it in overall context, if you look at the survey, the house is set back 89.6 feet from the property line and another 44 feet back from the street, because I'm not even sure if that's an easement zone, but it's a planted zone there, restricted area, which buffers the house from the street. So therefore the fencing and gates are just back from the facade of the front facade of the house. So you're talking about, more than 135 feet back from the street. The double gate is pretty much the only one that would be visible from the street because you're looking down the driveway. The abutting agricultural land abuts the rear property to the west, and so these read as more of a part of the front facade line of the house rather than a rear yard feature that would be connected and closely related to any agricultural areas. The planting. There was no planting plan in the current application, but I did remember from the last time there was planting. And when I was there the last time, there were a whole bunch of it looked like privet hedge or something similar that was laying down ready to be planted right along that mesh fence line. So these gates would be, from what I could see visiting the property, these gates would be in a line of privacy planting, which would conceal that mesh fence.
Quick question before we let the applicant speak. What is the fence to the right of the house towards the street? It's marked as fence.
That was the neighbor's fence, and actually we asked him to remove it, so that's now gone.
I think they're talking about the front yard.
I mean the
right where he has his hand. Yeah. That was something that was value engineered out. Because
there's nothing.
It was approved in the previous application, as I recall, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll get to that. So, okay.
So first of all, we apologize for the fences actually being up, because I think we got, like everything in this project, a lot of lines crossed, because we thought that it was approved, but we needed to submit a new plan subject to the new plan. So, and then when we got called in, we're like, oh shoot, we need to come in for this. So we're happy to make any alterations you guys deem fit on the fence itself. To be clear, that wasn't installed to the plan. So,
Can you just state your name for the record?
This is Curtis Sachs and Amy Sachs. We're the owners.
Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry. All right.
Okay. So you were saying...
I was saying clearly that this was kind of installed not to the plan. So we would ask the people who put it in to install it according to the plan. The plan was that the posts would be 6 feet, which would match the pool fence.
Yep.
And then the gate itself would scoop down to 4 feet at the top of the center of the fence.
Like the architectural drawings?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Like the architectural drawings.
So confirming what is under consideration here is only the gates, correct?
That's the only
No
part.
fencing that we're approving.
The fencing was already approved.
Would already approved.
Everything was up.
Today, we're only looking
Yeah.
at the gates.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
You know, these are not in the front yard setback. They are because it's abutting an agricultural overlay. That's why they're here, not because they're front yard gates. So there's that to put into consideration in the mix as well.
Yeah, but what we're reviewing here are these gates for approval as designed, and we'll get to in a CO inspection. If it is approved, you would modify it to make sure it conforms to that, and then we would deal with the height
Yeah,
issue.
we would ask that you approve the plans, and then we'll modify the gate to look like the plans.
Say that again? So you're asking us to approve
The
that?
drawings, yeah,
For the
no.
drawings,
Okay.
we would have the fence company fix what they did.
Yeah,
correct.
Can I just say,
Okay.
so I know in the back, it's in the rear yard, the board is allowed, I'm not saying per the code, you can approve things over 6 feet in the rear yard. It's only the front yard.
For a gate?
And fences and gates are the same. They're looked at the same in the code. So the gate could be over 6 feet tall. It can be approved
In the rear yard.
in the rear
In the
yard,
rear.
Oh, okay.
up to 8 feet, you can approve. If, as of right,
Okay.
well, this is an ag overlay anyway, so that's the other thing.
I mean, does it matter if it's a side yard? Because
No, anything just not as long
as it's not the front yard.
Up to 8 feet.
Gotcha.
Well, the owner is asking for approval of what's in the drawings, and I'm going to make a wild guess that some drawings were provided to the gate company and they weren't followed properly.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Put that out
no,
there
thank you.
and a chance to,
Yeah.
if they'll fix it for free, I just was trying to maybe save them some bucks.
Yeah, no, thanks.
Obviously, money is a consideration with our house here.
But I
We're
believe
value
the
engineering
applicant,
a lot.
I believe the applicant is an architect and therefore may want to
Right,
Yeah.
put their thumb down a bit on
right.
not following drawings.
Okay, so let's go to the elevations and let's just talk. I want to hear everybody's thoughts about the design being proposed here. So it's the same gate on either side, correct? And this would be
No, there's a double gate on the left-hand side of the house as you face it, and this single gate.
Oh, okay. Similar concept.
Similar concept.
Okay.
It starts
And both
6 feet down to,
painted white.
in this case, 4'4" and 3/8 to the
We would
bottom of the
paint
yard.
it to match the house.
Barrel and ball.
I'm fine with it. You know, I kind of appreciate the whimsy of it, and
I think also this house is already looking so much better, even since April. I mean, you guys have,
We had quite a
pushed it
mess
along.
to start with, I'll tell you.
Diane?
Yes, I think you look very proud and happy.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think it's very nice.
Are the dimensions of this gate similar to the one that's already,
So 6 feet at the top,
that.
bottom of in the middle there, 4'4", and let's see the other one,
It's 4 feet.
4 feet
and they're
lower.
going to be white?
It says.
Yeah, it's a Pharaoh and ball white,
Okay.
matching the house, which is already looking painted.
Yeah. It's
You
getting
had a little
closer.
sample of the paint in April, and now you've gone for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote on this, or you have any other?
No,
Okay.
just that, I mean, obviously it has to be brought into
Into
compliance, but apart from that, I guess it's okay. I would like to see more transparency, but just.
Yeah, I
because
don't
we've been
know.
asking for
I don't
that.
know if there's a stipulation that we make in terms of approved as per presented in the drawings. Yeah, I think that's probably, so I would make a motion to approve the application as presented in the drawings for the two pool fences to each side of the house.
Actually, the fences are not part of this, correct?
It's the gate.
I'm sorry,
isn't
gates.
it?
Yeah, so it's only
I
the
said
gates.
fences, gates, berms. Yeah,
Two
so
gates
I'd make a motion to approve these two gates as presented in the drawings in the application.
Second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
How are you
Oh,
voting?
all right. I guess it's okay. I'm not.
Just for
worried
the
about it.
record.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'll abstain.
Okay. Okay, you have 3 votes, you pass.
All right, thank you. All right, bye.
Okay. Okay, so that means 77 Beach Lane has been postponed.
No, I think she should continue on because it's that night, and she did explain that she was ill because she had surgery. But do you have any questions, Diane?
Okay.
Well, yes, I have her email from Tara that describes one thing about they're moving, it's basically about moving a generator. It's a gorgeous 3-acre property on the east side of Beach Lane.
But hang on, I just need to know if we're gonna discuss it and review it and potentially approve it, or whether you would like to postpone it. If we're gonna discuss it, I can read it into the record. How do you feel about it?
Well, I have some questions, but
Okay.
if we want to postpone it, it may be, it needs a new survey. I mean, to
Well,
begin.
let's just postpone it. Yeah.
Okay,
Put
let's
on the
postpone.
next. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
And
if you
then
have
we'll,
questions, she's got to be here to answer them. Right?
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. That's fine.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
It's
thanks.
difficult for us to do it without a
Yeah.
representative.
Okay, next application, 104 Wainscott Main Street, Wainscott, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-200-2-24.8. Chris, this is you.
Okay, this is an application for a driveway gate and a generator fence enclosure for a residential property at 104 Wainscott Main Street. The property is down a very long shared driveway with it has a street named Venture Lane. The property access is in a straight line straight down to the end of Venture Lane, and the neighboring property at 106 is a left turn just before you get to 104. And the 106 property also has a driveway gate that has a similar, but not an identical, but it's sort of similar character to what is being proposed. That's the temporary gate that you see there for construction gate. That's the neighbor's gate to their driveway off of Venture Lane. That's looking toward the house from what I presume is Venture Lane, that dirt roadway there. And you can see the temporary fences there. The hinged gate is drawn at 16 feet wide. The top's at 6 feet above the grade. Flat-topped gate posts are capped with lead-coated copper metal flashing, and the posts and gates are Alaska yellow cedar, left natural, over a steel tube structural frame that's concealed within the wood. The approximate distance off Wainscott Main Street, just to give you some perspective from the public area, is about 250 feet back. So it's quite a long venture lane. You really have to venture down that road. Sorry. So the generator enclosure, which is the other part of this application, is there around the corner of the property in the upper, right there in the left side of the property. It's a 4-foot tall spruce stockade fence panels on 4x4 posts enclosure. The stockade tips would be pointing down so that you have a straight edge across the top. The wood would be stained black. The generator that this is enclosing is set back 25 feet and 69.7 feet off the two property lines. And we don't have a dimension of the overall footprint of the fence enclosure. It's also not clear, if you look at the SK1, the plan, which is scroll over to the other side of the plan and zoom in really close on that on that generator enclosure. Something different is happening at the corners than on the stockade fence there. All those corners are sort of a lighter line, and one of them is dotted actually on the actual hard copy. And I couldn't tell if that was meant, if that was just a graphic glitch, or if that was meant to be something different. And I didn't see any gates in, so I thought maybe these are left open to actually access the generator. I couldn't tell, so maybe the applicant could clarify that. You are? I'm sorry.
Perfect. Hi, Sarah DeGray, LaGuardia Design Group, landscape architect for the applicant. Just to comment on the generator while we have it up, that's just a line weight kind of issue. So it would just be stockade fence all around. We'd probably end up leaving like a little bit of a gap, or maybe even have like a little like door or something just to get into the generator area. But yes, you described the job perfectly. Simple black stockade fence around the generator. We're screening that with bayberry too, to just give it a little bit of a buffer. That way we also have a noise aspect to that as well, kind of attenuating some of the sound.
This is not anywhere near any of the adjacent property houses. If you look on sort of Google aerial view, it's 25 feet off the property line, but it's pretty far from.
Yes, and we have a pretty substantial existing vegetative buffer as well between us and our neighbor.
Yeah.
Okay, just so I get the property correct, this is the back of this property the pond, Wainscott Pond?
Pretty much, close.
Okay.
Yeah, it's reserve land
There you go.
behind.
Right, and this is somewhat visible from Main Street on Wainscott there?
The gate would be, you know, better viewed with binoculars.
Still, I just want to get a sense of like where this is relative to vistas in Wainscott. And I'd also, if we can just summarize again, what are we considering here? Like 1, 2, 3, 4 things.
Let's go to the let's go to the
plan.
Yeah, let's go to the LaGuardia gate drawing. I can't remember the.
Just like a site plan. Just so everybody's clear what we're reviewing here. I want to see the whole site.
You zoom out on that view first, you'll see that that's an in-swing gate.
But where?
That's the character of the, that's the character of the gate. And then we can go to the survey for the view, zooming in on that. It's pretty much of a straight shot. It would be visible down that length of lane there.
Okay, so number 1 is the gate, which is, point that out, it's all the way down there. And wow, the height of that is what, 6 feet?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And is that, okay.
And so that's
Charlie, is that in the front yard still?
This property has no, this is a flag lot, so the property has no front yard.
So is that gate,
Yeah.
is that gate as of right? Well, no, it's not as of right because we're.
It's an ag overlay, yeah.
If this was anywhere else.
Not an ag.
It wouldn't need a building permit.
Okay, so we do, any structure we have to approve, but.
Yeah, and Venture Lane is not actually.
Okay. Yep.
It's
a shared driveway.
Okay. So other structures that we're approving here on this survey?
On that survey, you'd have to pan down a little bit, and that's generator enclosure right there on.
Okay.
There.
Which is, that the survey doesn't show the landscape plan, but the bayberry, there's a sweep of bayberries proposed from in front of that generator to also cross in front of the H-frame.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just want to stay on the survey, so I just need to know how many structures and what we're reviewing.
2.
Okay, so that, because we're reviewing a generator enclosure, we don't have purview over whether a generator meets code from a sound perspective, but do we have purview over
landscaping,
over the whether it's an appropriate location for a generator?
And it's an ag overlay, so the board has purview over any structure on the property.
I guess my concern is this going to be put right in, like,
Next to the neighbor.
right, is the neighbor's house 30 feet away from this enclosure, from this generator?
Yeah, that's my concern too.
It certainly didn't look like that I didn't look at the submittal materials. I was just looking on Google Earth and,
so here's Wayne,
Yep.
right?
there's a pond in the backyard of the neighbors and then their house is up.
Here's the house. So you enter off here,
Yep.
down there, the gate's there. And then the generator would be
Generator's right where the
here,
the hand cursor is.
not next to the house, but pool house, but it would be visible from the backyard, perhaps, of this property.
There is a pretty dense screening, vegetative screening that separates our property from the neighbors as well, that we wouldn't be maintaining.
It's pretty dense. I mean, I couldn't see through that even now,
Right.
into any adjoining properties. In fact, it's planted and you don't even see the agricultural land, in that area.
Right. And we would be screening it with fencing as well.
Vegetative buffer has to be maintained for visual.
Is that in the past when we've written that the vegetation must remain in perpetuity or whatever?
Mm-hmm, that's right. Yeah, yeah, we have. We were just talking about
A
that.
vegetation buffer. That's what I'm getting at. I just don't want I'm mindful of how this, of the neighbors. That's
right.
So,
right.
I was wondering if that 4-degree tilt of the fence had to do with how sound was attenuated. The detail of the fence, the section actually has a 4-degree tilt.
Oh, out or in?
Vertical.
Toward the generator?
There it is. It's 3 degrees. I'm sorry.
it deflects sound upwards.
Right.
Just slightly. Huh.
Slightly.
Okay, so can we, now that I've gotten a lay of the land of where this is, can we just look at what the design, I think we saw the gate. So the enclosure.
That's the gate.
Enclosure is 4-foot stockade fence.
4-foot stockade.
Tips pointed down, although the tips are shown probably cut off there, but.
So it's it's a 4-foot stockade fence that's flat.
Stained black.
Correct.
Stained black. Well, that's no fun.
The idea is that it just disappears behind the vegetation. That's why we stain it black, so that it just blends into the shadows.
And it's painted black.
And then stained black.
Stained black. Right. And we're going to call that like a solid opaque.
There's a color reference on that sheet.
Okay.
Benjamin Moore.
Black.
Okay. That's helpful.
And then can we see the gate one more time? Through this. Yeah, just the design elevation of it. There you go.
We also have a 3D if you
There's
wanted
also
to.
3D rendering of it.
Any comments, anyone?
I think
it's elegant.
works. I think it's
It's
fine.
way back from the road.
And it meets the opacity, the transparency that we recommend. I think
it's great.
I think it's great.
It's like modern and
farmy.
And farmy at the
Agrarian
same time. Yeah,
I think it's great.
I do too.
Okay, I'm clear on what this is. How do other people feel? Are you ready to vote?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application for a generator enclosure and driveway gate as presented.
I'll second it.
With and I think we should include the vegetation.
Must be maintained in perpetuity. Yeah.
Vegetation buffer.
So we would make a motion to approve the application as presented for driveway, gate, and generator and fence enclosure, with the stipulation that the vegetative buffer to the neighbors around the generator area be maintained in perpetuity.
Property line, not the property line.
I think I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Are we?
Yes, but wouldn't the property line be, isn't the vegetative buffer?
I would prefer to say just around a vegetative buffer around the generator enclosure.
Yeah,
I don't know that we can go that far, much farther, yeah.
perpetuity.
So,
I don't think we have the power to require that. It's because what happens if something dies? Like, you can't, I don't like.
I think,
It's not a covenant.
I think the site plan clearly shows existing vegetation and additional vegetation that's very.
I think it's
Say the
implied.
maintenance of the, I mean, how do we? yeah,
If
how do we word
if
it?
we're stating in the resolution that there's a vegetative buffer around it, it's like saying that it's required.
Yeah, that's fine with
to do it.
And the vegetative buffer,
I wouldn't like to add in perpetuity because
okay.
that's just not.
But it should be something evergreen too, right? Not something deciduous
Should be.
that loses leaves, something evergreen or something that's,
Yeah, I agree.
leafed out year round rather than something that loses
Can
its
we
leaves.
say an evergreen vegetative buffer around the generator enclosure?
Yeah, you can say that.
And is the owner okay with that facing the house too?
Will, could you go to the photos of that area? Because I think that would, there's a mix, there you go. So we have fencing, we have deciduous mostly. I can't really tell on the right. I don't recall what the plantings are on the right.
There's a big layer of existing bamboo along that edge right now. It's like a really big, mature thicket of bamboo that's been there for years now.
So how do we state something that is not deciduous, like that is going to
Evergreen,
buffer
not
it
evergreen.
year round? Because
Evergreen doesn't work.
well, I think the point is if you're going to require evergreen, then you have to rip out all the bamboo
Oh, I see. Okay.
to meet that standard. Whereas we might say we're okay with bamboo, we just have to word it in such a way that it's some sort of vegetative enclosure.
Let's ask them to come back to us with a proposal of the vegetative enclosure that will screen it
That will screen.
year round
That will screen it.
or non-deciduous. I don't know. There's got to be some way to.
Can we, I'm fine saying non-deciduous. Would that cover it?
I don't know, bamboo is a grass.
Yeah, exactly.
What did you say?
Why can't we say bamboo since it's bamboo?
Because if I buy the property, which I doubt I will,
Get rid of that
I'd
old
love
bamboo.
to, but I'd probably want to, I might want to take out the bamboo.
Yeah.
I don't want to grandfather,
Big
I don't want to
job.
grandfather a non-native species.
That's true. That's true.
100%.
Do like what they're doing with goats? Can we bring in pandas?
This is holding us up.
We don't have to, we can source.
We've done this before. We just did one at night at like. Yeah, I think as long as it's. I mean, it's truth be told, these people are not going to be here in the winter. 99% of the time, I'm sure. So nobody's going to care.
Well,
I would say just if you really want some vegetation that's already there, just say, and we'll just put vegetative. I think vegetative screening is enough.
Okay.
I think
I'm fine with that.
I know these people I've been to houses like this. It's going to be impeccably maintained. If LaGuardia is doing the design, I'm not worried about them taking care of this place. I think we're getting hung up on something that we don't need to be hung up on.
If you think that vegetative enclosure around the generator enclosure works to meet that, I'm comfortable with that. It's something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, can you start over, Chris?
I knew you were going to say that. I'd like to I'd like to propose that we approve this application as presented for a driveway gate and generator enclosure with stipulating that there be a vegetative buffer maintained around the generator enclosure area.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're passed. Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, on to
certificates of
C of O. Okay, this one is mine because we have passed number 12. June 09. Let me pull this up.
Tara Burke, are we doing that?
I think we can,
because this is the C of O. Yeah, yeah,
we
yeah,
can,
yeah. Yep.
I didn't write thing. Okay, so this is 462 Montauk Highway in Amagansett, Suffolk County tax map number 300-172-2-4.
It's pretty.
This is an application for a certificate of occupancy. This has had come before us a couple of times for changes between like stucco and cedar. And so they finally finished construction. Let's just walk through. If you can zoom out, maybe zoom out just a little bit, I can't tell. Yeah, let's just go around the house here. This is what's facing Montauk Highway, and I will state the reason why we are reviewing this is because this is an historic district. This is not an ag overlay. It's an historic district. This is facing Montauk Highway. With the exception of the driveway, this is completely surrounded by evergreen screening. So both volumes are essentially not necessarily architecturally, but materially are the same. This is facing west. Keep going. We will talk about the fence in a minute. Keep going. This is going into the backyard. So we the changes. The last resolution we did was to put stucco on the interior of that rear courtyard, sort of courtyard area. Everything else will be cedar except for the front door. So this appears to be meeting the resolution for the house. I want to point out that the gates, though they are on the survey, and under a normal circumstance might be, one could build them as a right. The problem is we need to approve that. So this is not going to be part of CO. So the house will be, but not the fences and gates.
Yeah.
And stating for the record that those gates are between 6'1" and 6'2".
Oh, gosh. Okay.
Which is unfortunate.
Yeah. House looks great, though. I remember when this came before us. Yeah, it's a pretty little building.
Yep.
I know, but she was going to submit paperwork.
She's going to be doing it.
Yeah. So this will come back to us as a new application.
Okay.
But meanwhile, they'd like to have their CO.
They'd like to have their CO for the house without the gates, without the fences and gates.
We can do that.
So, because it conforms to the resolution.
Right.
So I would like to make a motion to instruct the staff to notify the building department that this application is satisfied the conditions and substantially conforms to the ARB approval of the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, passed. Next one. Sale Montauk, 478 Westlake Drive, Montauk, New York, Suffolk County tax map number 300-6-3-6.
Okay.
Kathy, this is you.
Yep. This says Sale Montauk sign. This comports to the resolution. I went out there on Monday or Tuesday, I can't remember, and was finally able to actually see where the sign was going to go, because the other times that I went, the sign was not in place. So you can see where it actually is along the dock, and it looks great. It's a very tastefully done sign, and that is 3x2, which comports to the resolution, and the roadside sign is also comports, although it's a little higher than I thought it was going to be, but I don't think that matters. It came out fine. The one question I had is there's a small, there's one of these things there. Now, I don't blame them for putting it there, because there's no way, unless you know where you're going, you have to, the roadside sign is out quite a bit. You've got to walk down the road and make a right. You really have to know where you're headed. I don't object to this sign in general, but it wasn't part of the application, and it was there when I did my site inspection. So I think we can approve the signs that came before us and just ask them about this at some point going forward. But
it's a code compliance.
Yeah, well, it's that kind of sign. It's like one of the, it's got the little wire things in it, and it's 2 feet by 20 inches. It's not, but it's double-sided, so, if they want to put one there, I don't even know whose property that is, frankly. I suspect it's not theirs. Anyway, apart from that, I think that I'd like to make a motion to instruct staff to notify the building department that the application is satisfied the conditions and substantially conforms to the ARB resolution of May 9th of this year.
Second.
Well, okay.
All in favor? Sorry, I didn't ask for not giving anybody
It's
opportunity.
okay. It's all right.
Okay, last one. Four Ranger
I
Path.
think this has been pulled, has it not? Oh, okay.
Okay, reading of the record, Four Ranger Path, East Hampton, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map number 300-55-6-12. Kathy, this is you.
Right. Well, my understanding is that when I went to we're going to review it anyway. This doesn't comport at all to the resolution. There's no aspect of this that comports. So Julie was kind enough to call East Hampton Fence, and they said, sorry, no problem, we'll go back and fix it. It's just...
What's different?
It's all too high. It was supposed to be only not greater than 5 foot 6 inches in height, and everything is greater than 5 foot 6 inches in height. At well over 6 feet, those pillars and the caps and so forth. So it just... there was nothing salvageable. so they're gonna have to come before us again once they make the adjustment. The transparency is fine, the color was good, but everything is too high. So
do we typically send an incomplete letter? Or do we send a letter? Or are we going to make a motion to deny?
Oh, we're denying it. Oh, I thought.
So we are going to legally deny this.
Yeah, but it's not a denial, like a resolution, we're just denying the CO.
Can we just deem it incomplete? I feel like a denial is so formal. It's.
I think, my preference would be, given that the owner, the applicant has expressed that they're going to change it.
Yeah.
And they haven't requested it. They sort of indicated that they're not seeking approval today.
Right. That's my understanding.
We
right,
don't,
Julie?
we don't
That's what they
deny
said.
it.
Yeah.
So
I'd be more comfortable with that myself, because they're willing to mitigate it.
So we can deem this incomplete?
That's what I would suggest.
Okay. So this is incomplete. And
We'll
this
do it again once it's ready.
concludes our meeting. I would like to make a motion to close the meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th indeed. Happy Independence Day.